Fear is not a little flutter in the stomach, and it is not merely a thought that passes like a cloud. Fear comes as a whole atmosphere, and if you admit it, even for an instant, it tries to be your universe. It rushes to be your body, your pulse and breath, your future, your money and work and home, your relationships, your past sins and your imagined punishments, and it says, I am the truth about you. Do you see that? That is its trick. The danger of fear is not first in the event. The danger is in the instant you accept its suggestion as personal and final. Because in that instant you begin to live in a world it has created for you, a world of your consent. A headline flashes across a screen. You feel a twinge in the chest or a tightness in the back. The telephone rings at an unusual hour. Someone you love looks at you with a furrowed brow, and in less than a breath, the mind begins its building. It builds corridors of what-ifs. It hangs portraits of past failures down every hall. It draws up maps of calamity. It writes contracts that sign away your peace before a single fact has matured. And because the world likes to call this being realistic, you nod your head and say, yes, that's just the way it is. Oh, but no, that is not realism. That is consent to a suggestion. That is the mind making a world and then calling it inevitable. Do you see that? I say to you out of a heart full of love and through years of watching this pattern ruin health, ruin courage, ruin clear vision. The circumstance is not first. The acceptance is first. The acceptance is the doorway through which fear moves from a rumor to a ruler, from a whisper to a government. If it gets your consent, it governs your breath, your decisions, your tongue, and it will interpret every neutral fact as a proof that its world is the only one. That is how quick it is. That is why we do not play with it, and we do not argue with it, and we do not decorate it with spiritual language. We unmask what it is, and we refuse it our inner signature. But remember this, and never forget it. There is a first move that breaks the spell before it completes itself. Before analysis, because analysis only multiplies pictures. Before fixing, because fixing assumes the reality of the fear world. And even before the old habit of praying for conditions to change, because asking for a new picture while believing the fear picture is still giving it power. There is a first move that withdraws your consent, that halts the world-making in mid-construction, that says to fear, you do not get to name me, you do not get to write my future, you do not get to interpret my God. And in that instant, the rush slows, the air thins, and there is room for what is real to be recognized. We will take that step together, and you will see that the universe you live in is not born of headlines, symptoms, or glances, but of presence. Do you see that? Now here is the first move, and it is not complicated, and it is not heroic. It is simple, and it is sure. When that atmosphere rushes in and begins to say, I am you, I am your future, I am your body, I am your reputation, do not reply with, my fear, my problem, my panic, my mind. No. Stop such nonsense. Call it what it is. This is hypnotism. This is mesmerism. This is suggestion. This is the carnal mind's false claim to authority. Only a claim, not a law. Do you see that? In the very naming, you have withdrawn the signature that makes it personal. Our students are taught this. Error is not a person, and it is not you. It is not your identity, not your being, not your life. It is only a suggestion claiming presence and power, and it has neither until you adopt it. The instant you say, "my anxiety," you have adopted it. You have given it a mailing address, yourself. And the instant you say, "this is hypnotism," you have sent it back to the dead letter office where it belongs. Do you see the difference? One phrase makes it your family. The other exposes it as a passing rumor. But I feel it, you say. Yes, you feel the suggestion as a sensation in the nerves. But remember this, it has no relationship to your identity. You do not conquer hypnotism by wrestling with it. You do not conquer hypnotism by shouting scriptures at it, or by negotiating with it, or by analyzing its childhood. You unmask it. The unmasking is the break in the spell. The moment a stage hypnotist snaps his fingers and the subject wakes, the lion on the floor is a broom again. So it is here. The lion of fear is a broom of suggestion the instant you recognize it as nothing but hypnotism. Do you see that? Use the exact words and use them with authority. Quietly, not theatrically. This is hypnotism. This is not my reality. Say it again. This is mesmerism. This is not my life. Again. This is suggestion. This is not my mind. And if it persists, do not change your ground. Do not begin to fight the pictures or argue with the feelings. Simply stand in the impersonal fact. This is hypnotism. This is not my reality. Each repetition is not begging. It is the steady removal of your consent. It is the refusal to let a false claim borrow your name. Never forget this. The carnal mind, so-called, has only one trick: to make its nothingness look like your something. It must dress itself in your pronouns to get a hearing. Strip it of that costume, and it stands there as nothing. No person, no power, no law. And the moment you see it as nothing, you are no longer the actor in its play. You are the witness to its unreality. Now we can go on to stillness and contact, but first this. Call it what it is every time, and you will feel the spell slacken before one outer condition has moved. This is hypnotism. This is not my reality. Now stop right there. The next impulse is to rush, to pick up a tool, a technique, to bargain with God, to rehearse an outcome, to punish yourself for having felt the tremor. No. Stop such nonsense. Do not run to strategies first. Do not call a friend to confirm the pictures. Do not start rearranging the outer furniture, hoping the inner storm will quiet. Do not begin your litany of if-onlys and what-ifs. And do not, I say to you in love, do not scold yourself for fear's first gust. That is just the same hypnotism wearing a religious face. Self-condemnation is another suggestion. Do you see that? Be still before you do anything else. Stillness in this work is not laziness, and it is not passivity, and it is not sitting there hoping a miracle will float by. Stillness is the cessation of inner motion, the refusal to pump the bellows that keeps the suggestion alive. It is withdrawing consent. It is taking your hands off the lever that drives the pictures round and round, until they look like inevitabilities. Be still means, I will not think for it. I will not breathe for it. I will not give it my language. Do you see that? Here is your micro practice. Wherever you are, sit if you are sitting, or stand if you are standing. There is no ceremony in this. Let the shoulders soften. Let the jaw unclench. Let the tongue rest. Breathe the breath that is already happening, naturally, not forced. Close the eyes if it is safe, or lower the gaze. Now, once, quietly, with the same authority you used a moment ago, let the phrase land. This is hypnotism. One time is enough to identify it. Then drop the argument. Do not add an explanation. Do not build a case. Do not decorate the room. Let the words dissolve into the silence out of which they came. Hold yourself for a few moments in non-doing. Not a blankness, not a trance, just the willing cessation of the inner commentary. Why does this work? Because fear has no life of its own. It feeds on reaction. It feeds on the wind you supply with your breathless planning, your bargaining prayers, your rehearsed disasters, your scolding of yourself for not being advanced enough. The moment you stop consenting inwardly, you stop being governed outwardly. The engine that was racing has only one fuel, your attention as belief. And when that fuel is removed, the machine idles, and the pictures begin to fade of their own emptiness. Never forget this. You are not trying to make something happen. You are letting the nothingness of the suggestion be nothing. Stillness is your testimony that you have no contract with hypnotism, that you will not finance its performance by thinking its thoughts. And in that quiet, sometimes in a breath, sometimes in a minute, you will feel the center return. You will not have solved a problem. You will have withdrawn from the only place the problem could live, your consent. Then, and only then, are you ready for the next step. Do you see that? Now, in that quiet, here is the pivot without which the rest of your work will be wasted. Many of us, trained by the world's religion, rush from stillness to asking, God, take this away. God, stop this. God, fix me. Oh no, stop such nonsense. It doesn't come by asking God. It comes by actually making contact with God. Do you see that? The moment you start begging for fear to leave, you have confessed two lies at once. That fear has power and that God is absent. That is the hypnotism continuing, only now it has borrowed your prayer language. It is the same spell if it convinces you that God is up there and you are down here. That God must be informed, persuaded, or paid to come where you are. Prayer, as we use the word in this work, is not petition. It is recognition. It is not, God, change this picture. It is, Father, thou art here. Not a request, a recognition. The kingdom of God is within you. Not will be, not might be if you behave, but is. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Not as a sometimes companion, but as the very life that is your life. The mind that is your mind. The soul that is the light of your being. Do you see that? Contact restores reality. Petition assumes unreality and tries to bargain for a better dream. Now watch the hidden trap. When you plead, you set up distance. Distance breeds delay, and delay breeds doubt, and doubt breeds more pleading. Round and round the hypnotism goes. But when you stop, and in the hush say, even silently, even as a breath, God is. You have ended the distance. Closer to you than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. You carry your God right with you, wherever you go, whether you're in the so-called valley of the shadow, whether you're in the bright noon of success, whether you think you've sinned your way out of grace. Oh no, grace was never earned by you and cannot be unearned by you. It is presence, and presence is not a mood. It is the nature of reality. So our prayer, his conduct, contact. We turn within and acknowledge what is already here. Not drama, not volume, not formulas. Just the simple, unwavering, Father, thou art here. God is. And then we rest from managing. Do you see that? The authority returns to spirit. The government is on his shoulder, not on your fretfulness or your techniques. And then the grace that is ever present begins to form the outer in its own image, without your pushing, without your bargaining, without your fear being made real by your petitions. Never forget this. God isn't up in heaven waiting for you to pray right. There is no such God. The only God there is the living presence at the center of your being, the life of your life, the law unto your experience. Therefore, the first real prayer is not, do something. The first real prayer is, be recognized. Say it now, gently. This is hypnotism. Father, thou art here. God is. Hold to that, and you have made the only contact that counts. The rest will follow. Do you see that? Now we must anchor what that contact means in the face of the returning pictures, because they will try to return and bargain for your consent. Not my reality is not denial of sensation, not pretense, not bravado. It is the denial of false authority. It is the refusal to let fear present itself as law, as truth, as God-ordained decree. The body may flutter, the phone may ring, the bill may sit there on the table with all its figures, but the verdict that says, this defines your life, that is the lie. Not my reality says to that verdict, you have no jurisdiction here. You are not truth. You are not God. Do you see that? We are not arguing with paper or with nerves. We are withdrawing obedience from a usurper. And you can only do that because of who you are. You are not a frightened personal mind trying to survive the weather of circumstance. You are not the aggregate of yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's guesses. You are the livingness of God individualized, the I that the Master revealed when he said, I and the Father are one. The kingdom of God is within you, not near you, not visiting you on good days, within you, as the very center and circumference of your being. Therefore, identity is not a vulnerable personality out on the curb hoping God drives by. Identity is the indwelling I, the life of life, the mind of mind, the soul that is light itself. Gently, humbly, let the word I arise within. Not the boastful I of the ego, oh no. The I that is God being at your center, and feel the shift. Do you see that? The frightened witness fades. The true witness stands. Now bring in your stabilizing absolutes. Not as magic words, but as statements of what is. God is. God is here. God is my life. God is my mind. God is the law of my being. God is the substance of my supply. God is the intelligence of my decisions. God is the rhythm and timing of my way. Repeat them as often as you need to interrupt the mental weather. Because every time you say God is, you are not creating a fact, you are aligning with it. And alignment is the only government we recognize. Never forget this. Here is the causality, and it is always this way. As inner realization is restored, grace begins to influence the outer picture. Health clarifies, not because you pushed symptoms around, but because life recognized as the life of you becomes the form of your health. Decisions simplify, not because you analyzed harder, but because mind recognized as your mind orders your steps. Timing and supply appear in rightness, not because you hustled, but because law recognized as the law of your being manifests order. Do you see the pattern? Inner realization releases grace. Grace shapes the outer without your strain. So don't seek to change the outer. Leave it alone long enough to find the kingdom within, and watch the outer conform to the inner alignment. Stop such nonsense as hurrying the leaves while forgetting the root. Establish reality, and let reality govern. Say it now and let it settle. This is not my reality. God is. God is here. God is my life. Hold there, and you will feel the government shift back to where it belongs, not on your shoulders, but on His. And then the suggestion, deprived of authority, dissolves into its native nothingness, and experience takes on the shape of presence. Do you see that? Now let us put this on the ground where your feet can use it. The next wave will come. That is not a threat, it is simply how suggestion operates. So we have a short sequence, seconds, not hours, that you can do anywhere, eyes open or shut, clothed in your ordinary life. First, recognize the surge. Do not argue with it, do not dramatize it, just notice. Here is the rush. Here is the world-making trying to start. That recognition is 10 seconds at most. Second, name it. Quietly, without fireworks. This is hypnotism. This is suggestion. No, this is not my mind. I do not accept it as mine. Do you see that? The naming removes your signature. Third, stop. Be still before you do anything else. Shoulders soft, jaw easy. Breath as it already is, no performance. Let the inner motion come to a rest. You are not going blank. You are refusing to pump air into the picture. 10, 20, 30 seconds of stillness. Fourth, return. Not to a debate, but to reality. Father, Thou art here. God is. God is my life. God is my mind. Not many words, one or two will do. Let them be statements of what is, not pleas for what is not. Fifth, wait. Listen. This is not a trance. This is receptivity. You are not fishing for messages. You are letting assurance surface, letting a right sense of being rise to the top like cream. Perhaps only a soft calm comes. Perhaps a simple next step floats up. Make the call. Drink some water. Say nothing for now. That is enough. 90 seconds will carry you through all 5. Do you see how practical this is? In a car at a red light, you can do it. Standing in a hospital corridor, you can do it. Before a meeting, with people shuffling papers, you can do it. In the middle of the night, when the ceiling looks like a ledger of debts, you can do it. Do not make a religion out of the clock. The point is brevity and repeatability, not endurance contests. The spiral breaks because you withdrew consent, you made contact, and you listened. Now, a loving warning. Do not try to perform this as if God were impressed by your intensity. Stop such nonsense. The power is not in volume, not in squeezing your eyes, not in repeating God is like a charm to force the world to behave. The power is in sincerity and surrender, in relaxing into what is already true. Whisper is enough, because presence is nearer than hands and feet. You are not calling across a canyon. Never forget this. The government shifts when you shift from asking to recognizing, from reacting to resting, from managing to listening. Practice it now in imagination, so it is yours when the next wave comes. Recognize, name, stop, return, wait. This is hypnotism. No, this is not my mind. I do not accept it as mine. Father, thou art here. God is. Then listen a moment, as if you expected guidance because you live in omnipresence, because you do. Hold to that, and you will feel the spiral drop its momentum in real time. Do you see that? Now let us be honest, lovingly honest, about what actually blocks the breakthrough after you have named the hypnotism and been still and made your contact. Many say, I did the sequence, I said God is, and yet the peace didn't come. Oh yes, and here is the reason. The interior is crowded with judges and juries and old indictments that you keep in your pocket like credentials. Hatred, judgment, resentment, jealousy. These are not bad moods that you can keep on as accessories and still expect grace to move freely. No. In this life, this spiritual life, they are barriers, literal barriers, like walls thick enough to deaden the sound of guidance. Do you see that? It isn't punishment from God, it is spiritual physics. You hold the barrier up, the music cannot be heard. Fear is sly. When it is unmasked as hypnotism, it often runs to the costume closet and comes out as anger, at him, at her, at the politicians, at the neighbor, at the body, at yourself. And because the world gives medals for righteous anger, you clutch it and call it virtue. Stop such nonsense. It is the same hypnotism, now wearing a halo to win your consent. It whispers, hold tight to the story. Keep the ledger of wrongs. They deserve your scorn. And the moment you agree, the mind fills with noise again. The heart tightens, and you say, I can't feel God. Of course you can't. You are sitting in a courtroom you built and banging your own gavel. Do you see that? Never forget this. Grace cannot break through human willfulness. You cannot force calm while you cling to condemnation. You cannot command peace while you feed the indignation that props up your identity. That is trying to pour new wine into an old, rigid skin, and then blaming the wine for leaking. Put it down. Put down the gavel. Put down the case file. Put down the right to be right. Judge not, that ye be not judged, not as a moral slogan only, but as practical law. The judgment you maintain becomes the atmosphere you must breathe. Oh no. Trade it now for oxygen. What is the replacement? Forgiveness. 70 times 7, not because the offender deserves it, but because you deserve air. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And sometimes the them is you. Then say it for yourself. Forgiveness is not approving of wrong. It is releasing the hypnotism's hook so that stillness becomes natural again and contact effortless again. In this work, it makes no difference to what degree we're sinners. Absolutely none. It is never a question of first getting good to get God's grace. Oh no. It's the opposite. Get God's grace, and it will make you good. But you cannot welcome grace into a room choked with resentments and expect to hear the whisper. Clear the room. Here is how you do it in the moment. When the face appears before you and the heat rises, say it as you have learned. This is hypnotism. Then, softly, deliberately, surrender the case. I release him. I release her. I release myself. Father, thou art here. God is. If the mind rushes back to the file, forgive again. If the mouth starts its speech, forgive again. 70 times 7 until the interior softens and the gavel grows too heavy to hold. Maintain love, forgiveness, lack of judgment, lack of criticism, and you will find there is no way to prevent God's grace reaching you. Do you see that? Then the stillness you were straining to achieve arrives as a gift. The contact you were trying to manufacture is simply there. And with it, a calm authority that does not need an enemy to prove its strength. Judgment and resentment sustain the hypnotism. Forgiveness opens the way for contact and calm authority. Hold to that and watch the walls melt where you thought God was absent. He was never absent. The barrier was yours. Now let it fall. Now let us settle the great assurance without which all of this would wobble in a crisis. Fear's core lie is isolation. It whispers, "You are out here alone, outside help, outside wisdom, outside care." And the moment you believe that premise, the pictures multiply, because the arithmetic of terror works only when you feel cut off. Oh no. Hear the truth and let it be the ground under your feet. Wherever you are, presence is there. If you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. If you make your bed in hell, thou art there. If you ascend into the brightness of success, if you wander in the fog of confusion, if you sit in lack counting coins as if they were oxygen, thou art there. Nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing. Do you see that? Never forget this. Omnipresence is not a doctrine for church walls. It is law. It means there is no circumference that can put you outside the center, no border, no distance to traverse to meet your God. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Not if you pray hard, not if you clean yourself up first. Never leave, never forsake, as the life of your life, the mind of your mind. The place whereon thou standest is holy ground, means this very corridor, this courtroom, this kitchen, this street corner in the rain. Stop such nonsense as thinking you must get to a special room to be safe. You carry your God right with you wherever you go. The kingdom of God is within you. Do you see that? Why does this matter in the sharp edge of a crisis? Because the second you accept isolation, you start managing a universe by yourself. And human management under panic is the author of 1,000 foolish moves. But if, in that same second, you remember omnipresence and quietly say, "Father, thou art here. God is." The premise changes. You are no longer a solitary struggler. You are an instrument in a presence that governs, that knows, that provides, that orders timing. Then grace, which has no miles to cross, begins to appear as the right word, the right turn, the right help at the right time. I watched it this way. A young woman in a hospital corridor. The monitors are beeping. The surgeon is delayed. The clock is shouting doom. Her breath is short. Her mind is rushing. She remembers, recognize, name, be still, return. This is hypnotism, she says inwardly. Shoulders drop. Father, thou art here. God is. Not a plea, recognition. In that quiet, an odd, gentle instruction rises. Step outside. Get some water. It sounds unheroic, but she obeys. By the vending machine, a nurse overhears her child's name and says, "You're looking for Dr." He's just been paged to a different wing. I'll walk you. They arrive as the team corrects a scheduling error that would have added hours. Do you see that? The help was not created. It was recognized. Grace was not in transit. It was present, and the listening brought her to its intersection. Whether it is a wrong turn on a dark highway and an inner nudge says, "Take the next exit," revealing a lit service station. Whether it is a meeting where one quiet sentence arrives and turns the room. Whether it is an empty bank account and a call comes because you were led to send a note yesterday. This is not accident, and it is not your cleverness. It is omnipresence showing up as the ordinary rightness of your day. Wherever you are, in the valley or on the mountain, in the so-called hells or heavens, presence is there. Say it and mean it. God is. Hold it and watch isolation dissolve, because it never was. Now comes the sealing, the embodiment, without which your realization may float as a lovely mist and then be blown away by the next gust of suggestion. After contact, do not sit there waiting for perfect feelings to certify it. Stop such nonsense. The seal is not a mood. The seal is motion. Simple, sane motion that proceeds as if presence governs, because presence does. Do you see that? We are not returning to self-management. We are letting the inner government take a step in and as our ordinary doing. Act as if it were so does not mean pretending. It does not mean denying the nerves or putting on a brave face for the neighbors. Oh no. It means this. Take the next natural step as one who is accompanied. That is all. Not a performance, companionship embodied. The spell is broken when you stop feeding it. Now you do the next right thing without consulting the old pictures for permission. Do you see that? Here is how it feels in the body. You have made contact. The heart is quieter. Perhaps not silent, but quieter. You do not wait for a laboratory stillness. You let the shoulders stay soft. You breathe the ordinary breath, and you pick up the phone that is yours to pick up. Not to rehearse disaster. Stop such nonsense. Not to defend yourself in advance, but to say the simple sentence that truth gives you now. You rest the body instead of scanning symptoms. Do you see that? Because scanning is the old hypnotism looking for fuel, while resting is agreement with presence already governing the cells. You speak kindly instead of defensively, not as a policy, but because the need to protect a frightened me has been surrendered to the I that is God at your center. You do today's duty. Answer the email that is on the desk. Cook the meal that feeds the house. Drive to the appointment you already have, without running tomorrow's catastrophe film. Leave tomorrow alone. It will be formed by the same grace that meets you now. Never forget this. The causal order is law. Inner contact first, then outer motion. If you reverse it, action becomes panic wearing boots, and it will march you back into the hypnotism. But if, after saying within, "Father, thou art here, God is," you listen and then move only on that quiet, you will find your steps fitting into a rhythm you did not invent. Calls connect. Doors open or close without your banging. The word you speak carries authority because it is not yours. It is the tone of presence through you. Do you see that? Keep it simple. One step, not 10. One sentence, not speeches. If nothing is shown, do nothing new. Tend the present moment with trust. If something is shown, do it without strain. You are not proving your worthiness, you are embodying your oneness. And each embodied step prevents relapse because it confirms in the very fabric of your day that government has shifted. The mind learns again that recognition is practical, that grace organizes the outer when you cease organizing fear. Seal it now in words that become motion. Say it softly, and then let your hands, your feet, your tongue agree. God is, therefore I am not afraid. God is, therefore I listen. God is, therefore I take the next step. And take it. Now let us place the whole of this teaching into one sentence you can carry into the grocery line, into the night watches, into the boardroom, into the doctor's office, into your own thoughts when they begin to gallop. When fear hits, I recognize it as hypnotism. I become still. I rest in God is. Do you see how complete that is? It contains the unmasking. It contains the withdrawal of consent. It contains the contact, not as a plea, but as recognition. And that is all you ever need in the first instant. Not speeches, not arguments, not bargaining with God. Just the sentence and the stillness. Memorize this. Put it on your tongue while the sea is calm, so it is there when the wind rises. Practice is not strain. Practice is familiarity with truth. Whisper it in the morning before the news begins to sell you its weather. Whisper it at noon before you answer the message that feels hot. Whisper it at night before the cinema of replay starts. You are not trying to produce a dramatic sensation. Stop such nonsense. The expectation is not fireworks. The expectation is dominion. Quiet, steady government returning to its rightful seat within you. Peace that is not showy. Clarity that is simple. Right action that appears without strain. So hear me lovingly. Stop personalizing the suggestion. It is not your fear. It is not your mind. It is not your law. Stop worshiping conditions, counting them, fearing them, bowing to them as if they were causes. Oh no. The only cause in your life is grace. And grace is released by contact. And contact is this recognition. God is. Never forget this. God isn't up in heaven waiting for you to pray the right paragraph. There is no such God. The living presence is the life of your life, nearer than hands and feet. And the instant you refuse the suggestion and turn to recognition, you have cut the wire that powers the spiral. Do you see that? Say it now as one seamless motion of being. This is hypnotism. God is. Not shouted, true. Not forced, recognized. And then be still long enough to let the assurance form, and then take only the step shown. If nothing is shown, rest. If something is shown, do it without strain. That is the whole drill condensed to a seed you can plant anywhere, and it will grow in any soil, because omnipresence does not need perfection to be present. Carry it with you. When fear knocks, you do not open the door to negotiate. You answer through the closed door with a sentence and a silence. This is hypnotism. God is. And the spiral cannot complete. Do you see that?